Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Friant Kern Canal Pumpback Project public meeting. We would like to start this meeting off with a few housekeeping related items. This meeting is set up using Microsoft Town Hall format. Microsoft Town Hall does not allow attendees to share video or audio. We will be accepting unofficial comments submitted using the Q&A tool on your screen. Please note that comments submitted using the Q&A tool during this meeting will not be considered official comments, but will be included as part of the project record. This slide provides a visual of how to submit unofficial comments during this meeting. While submitting your comment, please provide your full name, agency and company name, contact information, followed by the comment. A deeper dive into submitting comments during this meeting. Use the Q&A tool on the right-hand corner of your screen. If the Q&A tool is not visible, use the Q&A button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Use the Ask a Question button to submit your comment. As noted previously, please provide your full name, agency affiliation, and contact information followed by the comment. You can choose to post anonymously using the Post Anonymous toggle in the corner down below, but you will not be included in our email distribution list for future project respondents. However, your comment will be included as part of the project records. For submitting official comments, we request that you mail in your comment or email it to us. You can email your comments to fkcpumpback@friantwater.org. Mail comments can be sent addressed to Katie Duncan at Friant Water Authority, 854 North Harvard Avenue, Lindsay, California, 93247. All comments must be submitted by November 25th, 2024. With those housekeeping items squared away, we are going to jump into the crux of this meeting, a quick round of introductions. I am Anusha Kashyap with CDM Smith, consultant to Friant Water Authority. On the call today, you will also be hearing from Katie Duncan with Friant Water Authority, the CEQA lead agency. We also have on the call Ian Beck-McLeod with Friant Water Authority. Other team members from the project team on this call include Chris Park and Greta Gledhill from CDM Smith, and also Kevin Verbillo and Jamil Ibrahim from Stantec. So what is the purpose of this meeting? We hope to achieve the following items today. Provide information about the project and the draft environmental impact report, solicit feedback and comments on the draft environmental impact report, comply with CEQA guidelines. At this time, I'm going to hand over the mic to Katie Duncan with Friant Water Authority, the CEQA lead agency, to provide an overview of the project and its objectives. Katie?
Thanks, Anusha. I'm Katie Duncan. I'm the Senior Water Resources Engineer with Friant Water Authority. Before I jump into project objectives, I just wanted to give a brief background on Friant Water Authority, the Friant Kern Canal, and the project. Friant Water Authority is a public agency that operates and maintains the Friant Kern Canal. The Friant Kern Canal is a 152-mile canal that conveys water from Millerton Lake or Friant Dam in Fresno all the way to Bakersfield and supplies water to more than 15,000 farms on 1 million acres of farmland in several cities on the east side of the San Joaquin Valley. There are 32 Friant contractors that in total have a contract volume of 2.2 million acre-feet of water. As part of the San Joaquin River Restoration Act, the Bureau of Reclamation was directed to explore the feasibility of a reverse flow pumpback on the Friant Kern Canal. And in 2011, Reclamation explored the feasibility of permanent check structures on the Friant Kern that would facilitate the conveyance of recaptured and recirculated San Joaquin River flows and other supplies from the west side of the San Joaquin Valley for direct delivery to Friant contractors. In 2015, Friant Water Authority explored another iteration of these proposed facilities and ever since has been engaging with a stakeholder group made up of Friant Division long-term contractors and working through planning activities to develop the proposed project. The project is an important part to achieve the water management goal of the San Joaquin River Restoration Program. The proposed project seeks to expand existing temporary pump-back facilities on the canal to increase long-term reliability by constructing 3 permanent pump-back facilities along the lower portion of the Friant Kern, which would facilitate reverse flow of water that is introduced from the Cross Valley Canal or other banking facilities near the terminus of the canal. And so the 3 main objectives of the project are to increase long-term reliability of surface water supply in the Friant Kern Canal for use by Friant contractors, increasing operational flexibility of the Friant Kern Canal for Friant contractors, and to support efforts to meet the stipulated water management goal, specifically paragraph 16, section 10201A2 of the San Joaquin River Restoration Settlement Act. Next slide. The project study area is the Friant Kern Canal and related water infrastructure near the Shafter Wasco, Lake Woolums, and Deer Creek check structures. Friant contractor facilities and other regional conveyance infrastructure, including the Cross Valley Canal, Kern River, and California Aqueduct, are included within the project study area, although they would not be directly impacted by project construction or operations. Next slide. And so the proposed project, Friant Water Authority is considering to increase operational flexibility and long-term reliability by constructing 3 new permanent pump-back facilities along the Friant Kern Canal. It would be a 500 cubic feet per second or CFS facility at Shafter Wasco check structure, a 250 CFS facility at Lake Woolums check structure, and a 250 CFS facility at Deer Creek check structure. Next slide. Friant Water Authority is exploring 3 alternatives and comparatively evaluates these alternatives to the proposed project. The first is the no project alternative. This alternative would have no new facilities being constructed, and pump-back operations would only use the existing facilities along the canal with a 500 CFS pump station that pumps water from the Cross Valley Canal into the lower end of the Friant Kern. These existing facilities include a 30 CFS permanent pump-back facility at Shafter Wasco check, a 50 CFS temporary pump-back facility installed historically at the Shafter Wasco check, and a 50 CFS temporary pump-back facility at Lake Woolums check. These temporary facilities would remain in place until their continued use could no longer be supported by regular maintenance. The second alternative being explored is the low flow alternative. This is essentially similar to the proposed project, although with lower capacities. So this alternative looks at constructing 3 new permanent pump-back facilities along the Friant Kern with a 200 CFS facility at Shafter Wasco check, a 75 CFS facility at Lake Woolums check, and a 75 CFS facility at Deer Creek check structure. And then the third alternative is the seasonal alternative. And this alternative would install and operate seasonal pump-back facilities at Shafter Wasco check structure up to a 200 CFS capacity and Lake Woolums check structure with up to a 75 CFS capacity. And next slide. I'll hand it back over to Anusha to go over the environmental impact analysis.
Thank you, Katie. The draft environmental impact report that was released for public review on October 9th evaluates potential direct, indirect, and cumulative impacts from construction and operation of of the proposed project and alternatives. The resources identified with potential for significant impacts under the proposed project and alternatives are air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology, seismicity, and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water resources, noise and vibration, traffic and transportation. The draft environmental impact report considers how construction or operation of the alternative would increase air quality emissions. Under the proposed project and low flow alternative, construction activities could result in air quality emissions with the potential to exceed significant thresholds. This impact would be significant but mitigable. The mitigation measure identified in the draft environmental impact report, AQ1, requires all haul trucks, vendor trucks, and other vehicles operating on site with on-road engines to meet model year 2014 or better emission standards. Under the seasonal alternative, there are less than significant impacts identified for air quality. The draft environmental impact report evaluates impacts to aquatic resources. It considers aquatic species and habitats that may be affected by construction and operation of the alternatives and proposed project. Under the proposed project and low flow alternative, there is potential for construction activities to introduce chemicals to the canal, which could reduce the canal's water quality and reduce habitat to support Kern lamprey. This impact was identified to be significant but mitigable in the draft environmental impact report. The mitigation measures identified in the report include mitigation measure has one. This requires the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan and implementation of this plan prior to construction. Mitigation measure WR1 requires Friant Water Authority to obtain all relevant state and federal water quality and stormwater permits. Under the seasonal alternative, there are less than significant impacts identified to aquatic resources. The draft environmental impact report considers terrestrial species and habitats that may be affected by construction and operation of the alternatives and proposed project. Under the proposed project, the low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, construction and operation could result in significant impacts to special status species. This impact would be significant but mitigable. Under proposed project, low flow alternative, seasonal, and the seasonal alternative, construction could result in significant impacts to riparian habitat, wetlands, and interfere with the movement of wildlife. This impact was also identified to be significant but mitigable. Mitigation measures identified in the draft environmental impact report, terrestrial 1 through terrestrial 10, requires pre-construction surveys, establishment of buffers, construction monitoring, and contractor training. Mitigation measure has one, requires the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan and implementation of this plan prior to construction. The draft report considers how construction or operation of alternatives could impact cultural resources. Under the proposed project, low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, there would be a possibility of inadvertent discovery of an archaeological resource and or human remains during construction activities. This impact would be significant but mitigable. The mitigation measure identified in the draft environmental report, Cultural 1, requires implementation of an inadvertent discovery plan. The report considers how construction or operation of alternatives could have impacts on geology, seismicity, soils, and paleontological resources. Under the proposed project, low flow alternative and seasonal alternative, there would be a possibility of encountering previously undetected paleontological resources during construction. This impact was identified to be significant but mitigable. Mitigation measure PR1 requires a qualified paleontologist to monitor earth-moving activities during construction of the proposed project and alternatives. The draft environmental impact report considers how construction of alternatives would impact hazards in the study area. Under the proposed project, the low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, there would be a significant impact related to transport, use, or disposal of hazardous materials. This impact was identified to be significant but mitigable. Under the proposed project, low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, there would be a significant impact related to the accidental release of pollutants. This impact was also identified to be significant but mitigable in the draft environmental impact report. Mitigation measures identified in the draft report include mitigation measure TR1, which requires the development of an adherence to a health and safety plan. Mitigation measure HAS1 requires the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan and implementation of this plan prior to construction. Mitigation measure WR1 requires Friant Water Authority to obtain all relevant state and federal water quality and stormwater permits. For impacts to hydrology and water resources, the draft environmental impact report evaluates impacts by surface water quality and groundwater quality separately. It considers how construction and operation of the alternative would impact surface water quality in the study area. Under the proposed project, the low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, construction could substantially degrade surface water quality and conflict with the implementation of water quality control plan. This impact was identified to be significant but mitigable in the draft report. Under the proposed project and the low flow alternative, there would be a significant impact related to temporarily altering existing drainage patterns during construction. This impact was also identified to be significant but mitigable in the draft report. Mitigation measures identified in the draft environmental impact report include mitigation measure hazardous 1. This requires the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan and implementation of this plan prior to construction. Mitigation measure WR1 requires Friant Water Authority to obtain all relevant state and federal water quality and stormwater permits. Now moving on to potential impacts to groundwater quality and supply in the study area. Under the no project alternative, future reliance on groundwater in the study area could generate significant unavoidable impacts to groundwater levels. Under the proposed project, the low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative, construction could substantially degrade groundwater quality. This impact was identified to be significant but mitigable in the draft report. Operation of the proposed project, the low flow alternative and the seasonal alternative is expected to result in changes in groundwater quality condition that would impair its beneficial use. Impacts was identified to be significant and unavoidable. No feasible mitigation measures would be implemented. However, continued implementation of the CEV salts program could improve or stabilize regional groundwater quality conditions. Mitigation measures identified in the draft report include hazardous 1, which requires the development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan and implementation of this plan prior to construction. Mitigation measure WR1 requires Friant Water Authority to obtain all relevant state and federal water quality and stormwater permits. The draft environmental impact report considers how construction and operation of alternatives would increase noise and vibration levels. Under the proposed project and low flow alternative, construction would temporarily increase ambient noise at sensitive receptors exceeding the significance criterion. This impact would be significant and unavoidable after mitigation. The draft impact report also identifies a mitigation measure, Noise 1, which requires the development of a noise control plan. The draft report considers how construction and operation of the alternatives would impact traffic and transportation. Under the proposed project and the low-flow alternative, construction haul trips and worker vehicle trips would increase traffic hazards at key roadway segments and intersections. Impact would be significant but mitigable. Under the proposed project and low-flow alternative, construction traffic would limit or slow emergency access within the project area. This impact was also identified to be significant but mitigable. Mitigation measures identified in the draft environmental impact report include TR1, which requires the development of a temporary traffic control plan. Now, moving on to the environmental compliance process, a brief overview of the compliance process. We started off with the public scoping, which was completed in June of 2024, followed by the preparation of the draft EIR. The draft EIR was released. The publication of the draft EIR was on October 9th. We are currently holding a public meeting, followed by the comment period, which ends on November 25th. This will be followed by the publication of the final EIR and the final decision on the project. A few key project milestones. The notice of preparation was released on May 29th, 2024. The scoping period was from May 29th to June 27th, 2024. The scoping meeting was held on June 12th, 2024. The draft EIR was published on October 9th, 2024. The public review period extends from October 9th, 2024 through November 25th, 2024. The final EIR and notice of determination are expected to be completed in Q1 or Q2 of 2025. Lastly, how to submit comments during the review period. A copy of this full presentation will be available on Friant Water Authority's website. To submit unofficial comments, you can use the Q&A tool in this Teams Town Hall event. To submit official comments by November 25th, 2024, please mail in your comments or email your comments. Mailing comments should be addressed to Katie Duncan at Friant Water Authority. The address is 854 North Harvard Avenue, Lindsay, California, 93247. Email comments can be addressed to fkcpumpback@friantwater.org. This concludes the presentation portion of this meeting. As noted previously, we are accepting any unofficial comments. If anyone has any comments, please provide that using the Q&A tool. Thank you.